At this year's Jeep Weekend on the Bolivar Peninsula, the Galveston County Sheriff says it made a lot safer for everyone. Fox 26's Leslie Delaspore spoke with the sheriff and attendees about their experience.
As Jeep Weekend comes to a close, the Galveston County Sheriff's Office says changes made this year made Jeep Weekend much safer and family friendly.
We had no loss of life, no sexual assaults, no major accidents, no stabbings, no homicides. We actually had some rules when you came onto our beach. We actually had a what they call an event zone, which was 6.2 miles, which you were required to come in one direction, head east on the beach, and then exit another direction. In addition to that, you weren't allowed to stop, stand, or park on that beach. In addition to that, we also added a driver's license checkpoint.
Sheriff Fullen says last year, Jeep Weekend had over 300 arrests and several shootings, but enhancing law enforcement presence this year made a big difference. Take a look. This year alone, there were 275 total arrests reported, 52 felony charges filed, 278 misdemeanor charges logged, and 42 firearms recovered by deputies.
Well, for instance, at our driver's license checkpoint, if somebody drove up and they had an expired license plate, they had a no driver's license, no insurance, and those are all misdemeanor charges. So that's why they probably are a lot higher than the felony charges.
Attendees told us this year reminded them of how Jeep Weekend used to be, and they enjoyed it.
It's different. The rules are different, but we found that as long as you are pretty much following the rules that set forward, we have no problems. We've been here all weekend since Friday, and we've been fine.
The crowds are a lot smaller, but it's a lot more controlled. You're able to enjoy the music, hang out, watch the Jeeps drive by and other vehicles, so it's been great.
It's a family weekend, okay? This is what it's about, family.
Sheriff Fullen says next year he plans to have the same measures in place to keep Jeep Weekend as safe as this one. Reporting from the newsroom, Leslie Delaspore, Fox 26 News.
A man is charged with murder after a shocking discovery inside a home in North Harris County.
Fox 26's Jillian Hartman reports from Tim Allen Court, where investigators say a body was found inside of a box.
Well, neighbors tell me this is typically a quiet cul-de-sac, and we're shocked to hear that a man was charged after deputies say a body was found in a box inside the home behind me. This is a scene from Friday morning here along Tim Allen Court. Deputies say Stephen Emberly asked another man to help him move furniture out of his house. Well, that man then told investigators that he found a body inside one of the boxes and then took off in Eberly's truck with Eberly in the bed of that truck. Now, he did crash into another vehicle and Eberly ran off.
That is insane. That's something that I thought would never happen. Like right here in front of my house, basically, you know, and I thought that was something that you want to see in the movies, you know, especially from the stuff that I've heard.
Now, deputies were able to track down Emberly. He was detained and now charged with murder. Investigators believe the victim was a contractor who was hired to do some work in the home. Investigators are still working to figure out how and when he was killed and why. Some neighbors tell me this is disturbing.
Honestly, that's one of those situations that I don't think anyone truly knows what they would do, because that's such a extreme situation, but I don't blame the guy for just bolting off like that.
Now, the victim's name has not been released at this time. Meanwhile, Eberly remains behind bars. His bond is set at $2 million and is scheduled to be back in court next month. I'm Jillian Hartman for Fox 26 News.
Well, only on Fox here tonight, a jugging case caught on camera, leaving one man without a whole lot of cash. He says he was followed from a Midtown bank to a North Houston car lot. Fox 26's Abigail Dye picks up the story from there.
$60,000 gone in seconds. Take a look at the security video from the car lot behind me here in Northside Village from May 15th. In the video, you can kind of see this guy sneaking around the cars, and he takes something out of your car. What did he take?
He took money. He took the money I just got out the bank. And it was deliberate.
And how much money was stolen from you?
$60,000.
When this victim reached out to us, I set up an interview to see what happened. He said that this black Toyota RAV4 followed him here from this Capital One in Midtown. And you were withdrawing the money to buy a vehicle here.
Buy a vehicle? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just trying to, you know, have a little cash to kind of negotiate better and that type of thing. We're never expecting that it was all going to just disappear.
Next, I have to call the cops to see if this report was actually filed and if they have any updates. I've got a case number for you.
Okay,
Okay, go ahead. They confirmed with me that they are investigating a burglary of a vehicle, saying that the victim did report they were followed from a bank. And what kind of impact does this have on your life?
It just ruins it for now.
This act is called jugging, according to the Texas Bankers Association. It's when someone targets a victim at a bank or an ATM, follows them, and then steals the cash they withdrew. I'm also reaching out to the security contact that the victim has been talking to with Capital One. They likely won't be able to speak with me, but it's worth a try. Yeah. Okay. That contact told me to send him an email, so I did, sending it out to several other media contacts with Capital One as well, and we have yet to hear back. What do you want other people to know about what happened?
Well, first, I want the police to catch him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want this to happen to anyone else. And I want people to know that, that Houston needs to move in a new direction. Maybe we should stop letting people out, because this person did not seem like this was their first time doing it.
As of right now, Texas doesn't have a criminal charge for jugging specifically, but that might change very soon. I'll get more into that on the news feed at 10. As for this RAV4, if you recognize it or know anything, please call 713-222-TIPS. For Fox 26 News, I'm Abigail.
In other news now, a man police say has ties to MS-13 has been found guilty of capital murder. Carlos Romero Munoz, who was 17 at the time of this murder, will face life in prison with the possibility of parole after 40 years. Fox 26's Jillian Hartman was the only reporter in the courtroom here today. She's now joining us live with some more details. Jillian.
Well, late this afternoon, the judge found the defendant guilty of capital murder. The victim in this case, Sandra Montez, was just heading home from work to see her son when she was allegedly shot multiple times during a carjacking in 2022. Now, in the courtroom this afternoon, I heard victim impact statements from both her sister and nieces. Her sister said Sandra loved life. Her nieces said that she was like a second mom and will be deeply missed. The family is relieved today that they got some justice. Now, the state argued that this was a capital murder because there was a plan to rob and kill. Take a listen.
We believe, based on the facts on this case, committing a capital murder and also doing a robbery, there was ample evidence, weeks of messages that they had been looking for individuals to steal cars for. They'd been attempting on multiple times to find someone that they could take to an ATM, dollar amounts that they wanted to get that were their goal.
All right, I got to follow up on that soundbite there, Jillian. So the defense, though, we just heard from the prosecution, but the defense was looking for a lesser charge of murder, right? Talk to us a little bit about that.
That's right. They wanted murder instead of capital murder. They argued that their client did not take anything from the victim and that there was no conspiracy to rob her. I got their reaction after the verdict. Take a listen to this.
Mr. Romero Munoz does have and will have an appellate lawyer appointed to this case. Asking for the lesser it was just what we felt the evidence supported, differentiating between the capital offense and the lesser included of murder. The judge made her decision, and we'll see what happens next.
Now, this verdict can be appealed. Carlos, who was 17 at the time of the murder, will face life in prison with the possibility of parole after 40 years. Back to you.
But also, I want to know what you guys think about an alleged peeping Tom in the Montrose area. Abigail Dye starts us off with that story here tonight.
The man caught on this Montrose Ring doorbell video is the Peeping Tom. A woman says stood outside of her window, threatened her, and exposed himself to her. Now, this woman says that she and other neighbors have seen this man loitering around their apartment building since April. And she says in May is when things escalated and she caught the man outside of her window with his pants down. Now, she did file a police report, but police have yet to identify the man, and no charges are filed, so that's why we can't show you his face. But I did speak to this woman about what happened that night. She says he was outside of her window, and I do have to warn you, her account of the events is disturbing. They were whispering into the window?
Into the window.
Do you mind sharing what some of those things were?
He said how he wanted to have sex with me, how to bind my body, how he was going to cut me up and put me in different spots in Houston.
So you just hear these words coming from a whispering voice outside the window.
But it sounded like it was right next to me, so it was extremely scary.
Or what do you do next?
Well, I'm a Texan. I was in my home, and the first thing I did was I grabbed my firearm, and I stayed in my home with the doors locked, and I told him to go away, and he didn't flinch. He was not scared. In fact, it was almost comical to him, but he did end up jumping the fence because I called my brother who was staying next door. My brother ran out, and then the guy jumped the back fence. I look at everything to describe somebody to the police. I looked at everything, the color of his pants that were down by his knees. And he had a backpack on, a big light brown backpack, which, heaven only knows what was in that backpack that was maybe meant for me, or any of the other, people that he's been peeping into their windows as well.
That is incredibly scary. And right here on TikTok, Abigail, folks are already saying, one person says that is really scary. You really don't know where they are, right? Because it could be anywhere your window.
Terrifying.
Terrifying stuff.
Terrifying. And this kind of behavior, it's known to escalate. There are studies out there that say someone who exposes themselves in that kind of a way, because this man was naked from the waist down, they do tend to escalate into, physical, violent, sexual crimes.
Yeah, so you can imagine how that woman is feeling. And only on Fox here tonight, a Houston man says that his former boss only spent 1 day in jail for stabbing him 9 times and won't have to pay him more than $50 grand in restitution. Fox 26's Randy Wallace has this exclusive report tonight.
Do you think you got justice at all?
Not at all.
December 26, 2017, Adam Henry came to this Northside apartment to get $600 that he says his boss at the time, 43-year-old Joseph Wynn, owed him.
He decided to stab me, opposed to paying me.
He stabbed you 9 times.
That's correct.
How seriously injured were you?
Very. I had lost a lot of blood. I lost part of my liver.
Joseph goes to court. He pleads guilty to aggravated assault, serious bodily injury. He pleads guilty. He gets 6 years deferred probation. What did you think when you heard that it was over, that nothing else is going to happen?
That this is a complete failure of our justice system.
Well into the 90 percentile of cases are resolved by way of a plea bargain, and those are resolved with probation and deferred adjudication. And if we didn't do that, we wouldn't have enough jail space to house all the people that we would be convicting.
He was ordered to pay you $53,550 in restitution. How much of that did you get?
About $2,300.
Will you ever see that 51 grand that he owes you?
Not at all.
When a defendant who's been ordered to pay restitution just doesn't have the money, the courts don't have the authority just to throw them in jail if that's their only violation.
He can honestly say that he's not a convicted felon. And yet, he stabbed you 9 times.
Yes, sir.
Every agency in Texas considers deferred to be a conviction for all purposes.
We reached out to Wynn's attorney asking her to put us in contact with him. We've yet to hear back. Randy Wallace, Fox 26 News.
Well, it's a tragic, shocking situation. Authorities say it was inside this home here along Tim Allen Court where a body was discovered in a box. The victim in this case is 57-year-old Luis Enrique Silva Mendez. He was a beloved father and husband. Today, I sat down with his wife. It was a very emotional interview. She tells me he was a contractor and he was hired to do some work here at this home last Friday. He left for work that day at 7:30 in the morning, and she did not know that would be the last time she would see her husband alive.
Cuando a las 7:30 se fue a dejar a los niños a la escuela.
On Friday at 7 a.m., he went to drop off the kids at school. That was the last time I saw him. I just remember he gave me a kiss and a big hug, and I hugged him back, and he said he loved me very much. He said to take care of myself and to take care of the kids, and that he missed me a lot. Those were his last words that day at 7:30 in the morning. The only thing I have now is the good memories we had together for the past 9 years.
About 4 hours later, she says she got a call from investigators that her husband was found dead. This is video of the scene. Authorities charged Stephen Emberly with murder. Investigators say Emberly asked another man to help him move furniture out of his house here, but then that man saw a body in one of the boxes, and then police were alerted. The wife tells me she wants justice for her husband.
Destrozado. Que esto jamás lo voy a recuperar.
I asked for justice. I don't want him to go free because I was left alone with my 4 children. He was a home provider. I don't want it to happen to someone else, and then they would end up the way I did, destroyed. Something I will never be able to get back. It will never be easy. That's why I asked for justice.
Detectives are still working to figure out how and when the victim was killed and why. At last check, Emberly remains behind bars. His bond was set at more than $2 million, and he is expected in court next month. I'm Jillian Hartman, Fox 26 News.
But first here tonight, we start with some tragic breaking news out of Southwest Houston. A 2-year-old has unfortunately passed away after being hit by a car on Oseen Street. Our Sherman DeStella is joining us now live from that scene. Sherman, you guys, a lot of new information just coming in now from that press conference.
Yeah, it's a pretty tragic scene, actually. I'm going to get out of the way because we actually just got here, so we're getting an idea of what it looks like ourselves. If Doug may pen down, if you can actually see a couple of evidence tags on the ground indicating that there's some blood on the pavement. So pretty horrible scene. So far, here's what we know. 2-year-old female dead and 2 men are in custody. So this started about 6 o'clock when dispatch got a call on the 3400 block of OC at these apartments. The first call wasn't about the 2-year-old. It was actually about 2 young men walking around approaching people with guns drawn. And so police managed to get those guys in custody, but shortly after that, they got another call about the child who was struck by the car. Take a listen.
There was an accident here in the parking lot where the female was struck. The mother grabbed the child and took the child to the hospital, where the child died. The 2 to 3 males that we have in custody right now, apparently relatives, they got upset because the child had been struck and started looking for whoever struck the child. At this point, we're not sure who struck the child.
So you heard that police believe that those guys that they have in custody that had those guns were actually related to the child who was struck, and they were angry. They were asking questions to people around the complex, trying to figure out who was responsible. So you can see right now, police are still out here. Detectives are out here gathering evidence, taking a look at the scene. There's a lot of evidence tags on the ground. But again, details are very limited right now. All we do know is that a 2-year-old is not coming home tonight. Pretty devastating for a community like this. A lot of people, a lot of families still outside trying to figure out exactly what happened. As soon as we get more information, we'll let you know. Reporting from OC Street, Sherman DeStella, Fox 26 News.
Today, a family is speaking out after their 16-year-old was killed on Easter Sunday.
It all happened in Sweeney, Brazoria County at the Windmill Run Apartments. Fox 26's Leslie Delaspore sat down with that family.
1 month and 2 days after 16-year-old Robert Phillips was killed here, his mother and aunt say they are going to be his voice.
Gave y'all 30 days, and I'm speaking up now.
Nancy Phillips says her son was gunned down here just before noon on Easter. She says he was here selling vapes and exchanging messages on Instagram with a possible buyer.
Like, for $35? You did this?
The family tells me 5 hours later they found out that Robert was killed. Now, he was driving his car that is registered to his mother, but they left home and they came here to the Sweeney police station where they had to wait until someone inside confirmed it was Robert.
The car is actually registered over there at the other address in Sweeney, and to me, they said because Mijo didn't have, or Robert didn't have his identification on it because he had accidentally left his wallet at his friend's house, right? I was like, and then at the end, what they did was run the plates. Why didn't they run the plates immediately and then contact whoever the car was registered under? And we showed him the picture and he's like, he just shook his head. Yes. And then that's when we broke down. I was like, and then we still waited for anybody to come and tell us what was going on.
Both mother and aunt say Robert was a smart kid. He had dreams of going to college and pursuing a career in radiology, but it was all taken away from him, and they want to know why.
Whoever is involved in this, I want them to pay.
But as soon as I come here and go to his room, I just break down every night, cry for him. They took a part of my heart. They did. It's like the day that they took him, they took part of me.
Now, we did reach out to the Sweeney Police Department for an update and information, but the person that we need to speak to was not in the office today. However, we will continue to stay on top of the story. Reporting in Sweeney, Leslie Delaspore, Fox 26 News.
As promised, let's get back out to that breaking news happening on Houston's west side, where police say a chase had a deadly ending. Fox 26's Randy Wallace joining us live from the scene on the 7500 block of West Belfort. Randy.
Yeah, Anthony, now we haven't gotten an official soundbite or an official press conference out here yet. We're waiting to hear from one of the assistant chiefs. But what police are telling us preliminarily is that they were chasing a suspect who was in a stolen vehicle. It's the vehicle that's closest to the pole over there. Now, the vehicle that's in the median, police tell us that the driver of the stolen vehicle hit that vehicle, sending that driver to the hospital. That driver later died. Now, police are telling us that the suspect was trapped in the vehicle. Firefighters were trying to get him out of the vehicle and that he shot himself. Again, we've yet to get an official press conference. That's going to be coming a little bit later out here, and we've been talking to some witnesses who kind of tell a different story. So again, all of this is under investigation. What we know for sure is 2 people are dead following a police chase, a driver of a stolen vehicle, and then the driver of a vehicle that suspect apparently ran into. Anthony?
Randy, I know we haven't heard anything from police just yet on a press conference, but do they have any idea, like, how did they come in contact with this driver in the first place that was in that stolen vehicle?
That's an excellent question, Anthony. That I don't know. I don't know what it was that, I mean, they may have just noticed that, hey, this is a stolen vehicle, and that may have prompted the chase. As you can see, it's very dark out here in this area. When he hit that pole, that obviously put out the power here. Several businesses are dark, and there's absolutely no power out here in just this area.
And that would make sense why the fire department was out there as well to try to put that fire out for that car. But again, you were saying that the driver, that guy who stole the person who stole that vehicle, killed him or herself.
Yes, that's what police are telling us initially at the scene, that the suspect driver, the driver of the stolen vehicle, he's trapped in there, that firefighters were trying to get him out. He pulls a gun and shot himself. That's what police officials here on the scene are telling us right now, yes.
So much more to come from this. Randy, thank you so much for working really quickly to get out there to the scene. Once they have that press conference and we're still on air, we'll get some more details. Randy, we appreciate it.
Well, we now have surveillance video of a chase that actually ended in a crash, killing an innocent driver over in southwest Houston. This happened around 8 last night on West Belfort. The innocent driver was trying to make a U-turn when a suspect being chased by police actually hit him. The victim was thrown from the vehicle and died at the hospital. The suspect slammed into a power pole and the car caught fire. As police approached, he pulled out a gun and took his own life. Investigators say the suspect was in a stolen vehicle. Now, the victim is 43 years old. His name has not been released yet, and we did reach out to HPD to find out if the chase followed the department's chase policy and protocols. They told us it remains under investigation. Also breaking this hour, a manhunt for the person who shot and killed a man riding a Metro bus in southwest Houston. Now, this happened along West Belford and Kirby around 2:30 this afternoon. Fox 26's Jillian Hartman joining us live from that scene. Jillian.
Yeah, we learned a man riding the Metro bus was shot and killed by another passenger, and this happened in the middle of the day. And right now, police are looking for that shooter, and a massive search is underway. Right now, we are along Kirby Drive and West Belfort Avenue. This is a very active scene. We see several police cars and Houston Metro Police, and that's the bus there where that shooting occurred. Now, the Metro Police Chief says around 2:30 this afternoon, a disturbance between 2 men on the bus escalated into a fight. The suspect pulled out a pistol, shot the victim, and ran away. The victim was then taken to the hospital where he died. We're told he was in his mid-20s, early 30s. The chief gave us a description of the suspect, and they said said they are looking for a black man who's 6 feet tall with dreadlocks, wearing a black t-shirt and blue and white striped shorts. The suspect is in his mid-20s and early 30s. Police say a manhunt is underway for the shooter, and they are canvassing the area right now, looking for video, checking any leads, and asking for the public's help. Take a listen.
Now you can only have to imagine how dangerous it is right now, right? This is like a middle busy intersection, and a shooting just occurred, and we're actively working the scene, trying to locate the suspect. I am confident that in the last hour or so, there were a lot of folks driving by, so perhaps someone may see something. If you do, please let us know.
Right now, Houston and Metro Police are working together on this investigation and trying to track down that shooter. And at this time, this part of Kirby Drive is blocked off as they investigate and track down that gunman. Back to you.
Now let's get to that officer-involved shooting where a Houston police officer shot and killed a suspect. Our Sherman DeSalle is at that scene picking up this part of the coverage. Sherman.
Yeah, Anthony, thanks for everybody being patient at home. So we're right here on the corner of Wirt and Wortcrest. Hammerly is right behind me. I'm going to get out of the shot. Raymond's going to show you what we're looking at right now. A very active scene. We actually just saw the chief's unit pull up. So we're expected to hear from him within the hour. We were told that that might take some time because he's gathering information. But there's a lot of HPD officers out here as well as a crime scene unit. And to the left of us, we got to be careful because there is a body on that ground right there on the corner of Hammerly. So here's what we know so far. According to authorities, the shooting occurred right here about 4 p.m. Officials say the call came in as an officer assist, and HPD homicide told us that a suspect's dead on the scene. No officers were hurt in this incident, and we have not gotten a positive ID on the man who was pronounced dead on this scene. But again, we're on the 7800, near the 7800 block of Hammerly Boulevard. Wirt and Wortcrest is right behind me. A lot of people outside just trying to figure out what happened. There's some people who live actually to the left of me just trying to get back to their homes, but they're going to have to wait a while because it's a very active scene. A lot of this intersection is taped off, and if anyone is headed towards this direction, just know you're going to be dealing with some detours for an extended period of time. Reporting from Wirt and Wortcrest, Sherman DeSalle, Fox 26 News.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yasser Bashir, Assistant Chief with the Houston Police Department. And with me, I have Captain Zia from Homicide Division, and I also have Lieutenant Barber from Northwest Division. So at the moment, we are in the 7000 block of Hammerly Road on an officer-involved shooting incident. I'm going to briefly give you an overview of what I have, then I will provide you more information that I've gathered so far. We have one suspect who is deceased, and no officers were injured, and there's no additional threat to the community. So this incident actually started early in the morning around 8:30 when a security officer called HPD regarding the suspect because the suspect had a bat and he was swinging and charging toward the security officer. This happened around 8:30 in the morning in the 7800 block of Long Point. The security guard discharged his CED, or commonly known as a taser, and which had no impact on the suspect. The suspect left the location. HPD officers arrived and they did a report. And they began to look for the individual, but were not able to locate him. Later on today, around 3 o'clock, the same security guard called the police again on the same suspect. So as the officers were on their way, there were two-man unit. This happened right shortly after 3 o'clock. As they were on their way, they located the suspect on Wirt Road, walking in a strip center. They got out of the car, and they noticed that he had a bat in his hand, and he was being aggressive toward the officer with the bat. The officer gave him verbal commands to put it down in English and in Spanish multiple times. Sometimes he was, at certain points, he was threatening the officers with the bat. The officer two officers discharged their tasers, but it had no impact. The suspect continued to walk toward Hammerly, and he crossed Hammerly, and then he reached, there's a bus stop right behind my back. He got to that point, and he saw what appeared to be a chunk of concrete, and he picked it up and started threatening the officers with the concrete. And one of the officers at that point discharged his weapon more than once and struck the suspect. Immediately after that, the officers began to provide medical attention, and then later on, the suspect was pronounced deceased at the location. The suspect is, we believe he's a Hispanic male in his 50s, and the officer who discharged his weapon, he has 3 years on in the department, and he will be placed on administrative duties, and his body-worn camera will be released within 30 days. As you can see, this is a very sad event, and we're going to make sure that this incident is investigated thoroughly. At the moment, we have homicide, internal affairs, as well as the district attorney's office conducting independent investigations. That's all I have at the moment. Now I'll make myself available for any questions that you may have.
You said that the officers did discharge the tasers before,
Yes, they did multiple times.
and they had no effect.
Because the suspect had a heavy jacket, and that's one of the reasons I believe they did not have any impact.
Was he saying anything to the officers whenever this happened? I know that they told him to drop the bat. Did he respond to anything else? You know?
He didn't comply with their officer's command, and the officers continuously gave him commands in English and in Spanish.
You said that the security officer called at a different location. What was that location?
No, in the 7000 block of Long Point, he called in the morning, and then he called again in the afternoon. And both times, the suspect had a bat.
Is this a mental case? Because he looks kind of like he might have problems.
We don't know, but that will be part of the investigation. He threatened the officers with the. At some points, he threatened the officers with the bat, and then once he crossed over Hammerly, he picked up the chunk of concrete. Then he threatened the officers with the with that object. The officers in this incident gave him multiple commands, and they encountered the suspect, and they walked with him for crossing the street, and still gave him verbal commands to put the bat down. Every case is different. In this case, the traffic wasn't that heavy, I'm assuming, and we also had vigilant, probably the citizens, and they were paying attention to what was going on in the intersection as they crossed the intersection. So, but you know, we always want to make sure the scene is safe for us to take any kind of action.
Last question. Chief, this is the 4th officer-involved shooting within the last 2 weeks. What are your thoughts? Why are we seeing a little bit of a spike?
All those cases that the 4, they're still under investigation, so each case is unique on its own. But I do want to say that, you know, our officers are encountering these kind of events where they have to use deadly force. This just points out that our officers are, this very difficult job for us to do when we encounter somebody using, weapons and threatening the officers.
Was it because people are more aggressive towards the officers, or?
As I mentioned, every case is different, and I don't want to comment on ongoing investigations. And I don't want to generalize either. Yasser Bashir, Assistant Chief with the Houston Police Department. Thank you.
There's nobody that's Spanish, right?
No. Thank you.